The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by SIDEBAR, its guests, callers, and advisors are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS Verizon Media Group. SIDEBAR, a 103.5 The Beat podcast, is a production of IlTV Studios and may not be reproduced or represented, in part or in its entirety, without the express written consent of Verizon Media Group. SIDEBAR is the intellectual property of Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
Welcome to SIDEBAR, 103 The Beat podcast, powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. With me today is attorney Angelique Dennis. So I've been looking for months from the beginning of we started this podcast. Like, I was supposed to have a lawyer on as one of the first guests. It is almost nearly impossible. I feel like it's harder to get a lawyer to commit to doing a podcast than it is to get like a police officer to let you take a picture of them in their uniform. But you're here today.
Yes.
Angelique Dennis, welcome.
And thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
And you know what? With attorneys, time is always of the essence. And so it's finding the time.
I'm willing to work with you. Okay.
Yes. So I think that's the reason why. But
Right.
I'm here now and I'm excited to just have the conversation with you today. And so hopefully I want it to be a rewarding one.
Right. Now, having an attorney or having a lawyer, honestly, it feels like a very rich thing to say. It's like to be able to say, oh yeah, I'll have my lawyer look at it, or let me contact my lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Does the normal person need a lawyer?
I would say yes, definitely. It depends on the circumstances. For instance, if you're purchasing a property or you financing with a mortgage through the bank, definitely you would need an attorney. And that's my main area of practice, which is real estate. And so with that being said, a normal person who doesn't have any legal mindset, who didn't go through the education, we have like a minimum of 7 years for you to become a practicing attorney here within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Really?
Yes, because
I thought it's not like I thought it was like you do like 4 years and then you specialize in something.
No. So like I said, it's a minimum of 7 years. So with me, I attended, it was College of the Bahamas at that time, in which I completed 2 years there, where I obtained my associates in law and criminal justice. And then I ventured on to Keele University in the United Kingdom. And that was a 3-year program where I obtained my Bachelor's of Law, which we call the LLB. There is a compatible program here at UB for that, but that's a 4-year program. And then thereafter, I came back here and I completed it at Eugene Puget Law School, which is 2 years. And if you want to complete a master's program, that's an additional year. So like I said, it's a minimum of 7 years. And so that's why it's best to stick with your attorney, your lawyer, at all costs, because we have the legal training to handle and resolve any legal matters that you may have.
Right.
And so that's why it's best to always contact your attorney first.
Yeah. I mean, 7 years is a long time to commit. In that time, that's when you figured out what you were gonna specialize in?
Well...
Or was it like when you got back home, you're like, nah, let me figure it out?
Well, no. My passion was always family law. While at Eugene Puget Law School, I was a participant of the family law clinic. And so my passion was always family, dealing with divorces, adoptions, but mainly, making sure that the child comes first, which is primary in those family cases. But I ended up venturing off into real estate because I initially worked for a bank. And so it was real estate transactions that became my love, to be honest.
I would imagine that at a bank, you'd have more real estate questions than with child custody.
Correct. So I didn't handle any child custody matters until I went to the law firm thereafter. And so I was actually working at the bank while in completing my studies at COB. And so I guess it came natural that I ventured off to banking. However, my first love became real estate. And secondly, followed by probate and estates, and family matters.
I have, I do have questions about real estate for you.
Sure, go right
Right?
ahead.
I don't. We come back to that. So what we'll do is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I do want to talk to you about real estate because you always hear these things. And once again, this is one of the reasons why people feel like only lawyers is for rich people, right? Because it's like you hear things like quieting and you talk about property and all that stuff.
Correct.
These are terms that people are always throwing around, but then they always throw it around like, oh, these people teeth and things and all that. Right?
Yeah.
And so there's these ideas and these misconceptions about it. And so I'd like to dive deeper into that with you.
Sure.
Maybe you could help clear some of the air for our viewers and listeners at home. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into that. You are listening and watching Sidebar 103 podcast powered by IlTV. We are here at Access Co-worker Suite. I need to say that we needed a space, and they were gracious enough to say, yeah, man, you can use that for us. So thank you very much to Access Co-worker Suite. We will be back right after this.
We take sports seriously. Get ready to experience the thrill of winning anytime and any place. Bet in real time and live the thrill of every play while watching your winnings stack up. It's your chance to score big with fast payouts and a world-class experience. Get in the game and bet the Bahamian way with Island Luck Sportsbook.
Welcome back to Sidebar 103 podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna, and I'm here today at Access Co-work Suites. They were gracious enough to let me use their foyer so that I can have the conversation long last with a lawyer, Miss Angelique Dennis.
Yeah.
I pronounced it correctly, right?
That's correct.
All right, because there's always the temptation to be like Angelica or Angelica or something. But Angelique Dennis, earlier you brought up the fact that you have a focus in real estate, right? Now, I've had reason to pass by the walls of an attorney or two, and I actually do have friends that pass the bar. But people always talk about quieting, right? When you quiet a property, and for the average Bahamian, that to them that's just like, or some rich person, they pay somebody to go say that that's their property now, and now the property gone, and that's how all these people end up with all type of property or whatever. Now, before I go on my long rant, right? I may have had this rant with D'Angelo before, right? What exactly is quieting? For somebody who works in that, you're both a lawyer and you work specifically in the field of real estate. I feel like you'd be better to speak to it than just crazy Stephen.
Okay.
What is quieting?
So in short, quieting is the process where a person obtains the legal rights to a property by virtue of a court order. But first and foremost, it must be established that the person is in possession of the property and has been in possession of the property for a minimum of 12 years.
Right.
And it's a application, it's a process. And so it's not just a person saying, oh, I've been on this property for 12 years. I'm now going to the court for them to sign off on my property papers to make it a legal document for me. So first and foremost, you would need to have two persons to say that, this person, you have been in occupation of this property, that, you're clearing down the property, you've been maintaining the property in essence for a minimum of 12 years. Also, I always like to say, the campaign, Read Bahamas Read, we need to stick with that. So everything has to be advertised in the paper.
Right.
And so
to say
that this
is
yes,
claiming that this is his property. If you think this yours,
then you need to make a claim.
I want to circle back to that, but finish off your point.
Yes. And so in essence, if you didn't check on your property for about 12, 20 years, and now that's being advertised, now that's when you have that time to go and file the necessary documents and object before the court. And that's when the courts will now decide, they'll take everyone's evidence and decide who is the rightful owner of the property or who is rightfully entitled to having the legal ownership of the property.
Now, the reason why, so there's two things. So while persons tend to think of quieting as this is an opportunity for persons who already have access and abundance to gain more, get more. Rich people just taking up and eating up everything, right? In my thought and opinion, the reason for the law is to provide the avenue for everyone to have the best quality of life possible. If I'm as a poor person, I've been using this property, I've been maintaining this property, there's a chance that under ordinary circumstances, there's no way I'd be able to purchase this property. But the land is being used and I'm making it productive. I'm helping society. I'm contributing to the economy. I'm doing these things. I'm taking care of this property. Even though I may not be able to purchase it, if I've been doing that for 12, 14, 20 years, for as long as anybody living in the neighborhood, Miss Mabel always been over there. We thought that was her property or whatever. This provides an avenue for persons who do not have the funds necessary to purchase it to perhaps have access to the property that they are using, not just to collect property. Am I correct in that assumption?
You're correct. Now, the only thing is, I noticed that you would say, I'm a poor person, I guess you would clue in on cost because, cost is
Still
associated with the process. You have legal fees, you also have advertising fees, and you also have filing fees. You have to make your applications before the government.
That's cheaper than buying the property. The property costs $250,000.
Exactly. And so quieting process will definitely be cheaper depending on the circumstance. It just depends on, the size of the property and, if it's just one property, compared to having to purchase a property because, here on New Providence, you maybe could find a vacant land for $80,000, $100,000, depending on the area. And so definitely that is correct.
Right. And so now that brings me to now I have another thought, because my thought would be, you always see in persons like legal clinic, right? I don't know what these legal clinics are for. Are they just to suss out to see if I could find somebody where a lawyer's trying to hit a lick or something? Because I understand that this is free legal aid, but beyond when your Grammy dead, this is the chain of command and who gets what. I don't feel like these legal clinics actually offer, and once again, this is my personal sad opinion. Is it? But I'm saying, are there avenues where somebody who may have need of a lawyer, but they don't necessarily have all
of the finances or all of the costs? Well, I know, for instance, like you say, the legal clinics, because I'm going to differentiate between the legal clinics and the legal aid clinic.
Okay.
So usually law firms and sometimes other organizations come together, they contract attorneys and host these legal legal aid clinics in which persons can come for no charge, to get advice on certain things. But that advice stays right there.
Okay.
Now, we do have a legal aid clinic, which is located right there on Rosetta Street, in the Old City Market building.
Rosetta Street. Oh, yes.
Yes,
Opposite,
correct.
opposite the what's it called?
They say
The Union.
yes, the
right.
Union PQ.
Yeah.
So, that is powered by the Eugene DePuge Law School.
Okay.
And so when I attended Eugene DePuge, I was also a part of the legal aid clinic. And so with the legal aid clinic, the fees are reduced substantively in relation to legal fees.
Okay.
I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, you wouldn't pay, depending on the
nominal
case. Yeah, you pay maybe $800 the most, depending on what type of matter is it.
Right.
How much, I guess, court appearances or whatever have you. But with the legal aid clinic, you also have payment plans, so you don't have to pay everything all at once.
Okay.
Now, I stand to be corrected because I have left law school a while back, but
they
still...
could go and check them out.
They could go and check them out, correct. And so and then attorneys as well, because I've done some pro bono cases.
Yeah.
Persons come to you and they say, well, this is what it is, depending on the circumstances, because, we as attorneys, we do give back. And so I usually do pro bono cases as well, maybe 2 or 3 per year. Because you have to give back to the community as well. And so we are community oriented. Us as attorneys, it's not always about the money. And so that's some avenues there where persons are able to get some free legal advice.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then this is the last point on this, right? The putting it in the newspaper bit. I'm asking you as a citizen, right? Don't you think that we really need to revise our reading of what it means to gazette something? Because at this day and age, right, we're using a term that was very specific many, many years ago, all right? And even the thing that it referred to no longer exists. The specific, I think that's what English, the Gazette was English, right?
Yeah.
Right. So first of all, I don't think the Gazette exists in England anymore. The actual newspaper. I could be wrong, but let's go with it. But even the newspaper itself as an entity around the world is dying. So to force people to say legally you must put it in a newspaper so that people may know about it feels disingenuous, because what about the spirit of the law? I only took 1 law class. That's all I learned, right? The spirit of the law is not being followed. I feel like we're not even following the letter of the law, because what we're following is a previous interpretation of what the spirit of the law was. The spirit of the law wasn't saying you have to put it in the Gazette, because you could put it in the Tribune, you could put it in the Guardian, you could put it, if the Punch won the whatever, you could put it inside the Punch. You put it wherever persons are able to see it, because this is the means of mass media. We have passed that many years ago, right? Where the average person is more likely to see something on TikTok than they are to see it on the back page of the business section of a newspaper that have only 4 pages on a Friday. I feel personally that we should start looking at ways to diversify, even if it was a website where you say, hey, go here, this is where the Gazette is. Because jury duty, I can't tell you what the jury duty list look like.
Well, it's actually been published on the judiciary's website, so you guys can go on courts.
But make your plug.
Courts.bs, and the list is published right there. So right on the home page, you can see it there, although it was publicized as well in the Tribune.
Right.
But it's now digital. So, the courts and our judiciary
so that's what,
they're now being digital, digital. And so,
I think it should be, I don't think that you don't put it at all in the newspaper, but I don't think that putting
that
it
should be the only source.
Right. Because there's a certain type of person of a certain ilk, a class, that reads the newspaper. Permanent secretaries, people who make over 6 figures, they read the newspaper. The rest of us, unless we getting it with a free breakfast, we ain't reading the newspaper. All right, maybe you because you're a lawyer. But
Yeah,
anyway,
see, that's why I say we got to go back to that campaign. Read Bahamas, read, because everything is published online as well.
yeah, but we need to know where. But you know what?
I get what you're saying. To me, I think that's more of educating the Bahamian
To
people,
where to
getting it
find
out.
it. Right.
Yeah, I understand.
And
I
so,
understand where you're coming from.
are you? Anyway, we got to take a quick break. So we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna go further into some questions that I have for you. Once again, this is Sidebar 103 podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madeira Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
Tired of driving around from place to place just to get your car insured and licensed? Frustrated with the process of being back and forth from your insurance company to road traffic? Well, BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers just made insuring and licensing your motor vehicle as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Visit us at the Road Traffic Department, Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2. See the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3. Enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at IlTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Welcome back to Sidebar 103 podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. If you're wondering what the environment is, we are at Access Co-work Suites. And today we are talking with Miss Angelique Dennis. I almost call you Dan. Okay. Angelique Dennis. She is an attorney, a practicing attorney in the Bahamas. Your specialty is real estate, but we're all over the place, all right? Because it's not often that, you get a free hour with an attorney to just sit down and talk with them. Let's start off with the average, I don't think the average person actually has ever gone to court, all right? I don't think that the average Bahamian goes to court. But we have this idea in our head that it's similar to how it is in the States. All right? How close is that to reality?
Well, to be honest, these TV shows like Law and Order and one of my favorites, Matlock. They are quite...
Matlock is your favorite?
Yeah,
that is
from a child.
Yeah, but have you gone back recently and said, wow, none of this holds up. This ain't even circumstantial. This is wrong.
Yeah, like I said, so it's quite dramatic. Yeah. So it's from reality. Now, basically, the only thing I would say that is similar is, the courtroom settings, where we have the judge, where you have a stenographer who takes the court notes of everything that's happening inside the courtroom, where the persons are placed inside the courtroom. But other than that, it's quite a dramatic form of what happens in reality in the Supreme Court and the Magistrates Court and in the Industrial Tribunal. However, I don't know if you're familiar with the show that was recently aired called Judge Carol. So it's similar
Vaguely,
to
on
it's a
Zedna,
Bahamian
yeah.
show,
Right, yeah.
and it's similar to Judge Judy, and so that's, in my opinion, is the closest we have here to something that's
Is that a
US-based.
real court though?
No, it's not a real court, it's just a show, but it's the only thing that's similar
Right.
that you could compare to any US.
No, but I want to know what it is like if you're in an actual court in the Bahamas. What is that experience like? Because I feel like the idea of lawyers, I'm going to, for lack of a better term, the fraternity of the law of
the legal fraternity,
right? How it's portrayed or carried, or when people are talking about it within the news or anything, it sounds like, oh, this is like a very specialized field, and you wouldn't get it. You need it, but you wouldn't understand it, right? And it seems like, because even like in terms like things like, what is a magistrate? What is a chief magistrate? And is there a difference between a magistrate and a judge? Like these are things like, I don't know.
So technically here in the Bahamas, we don't have judges, not judges, but I mean to say, you know, like how they say your honor.
Right.
Yeah, so we say your worship for magistrates, my lady, my lord for our judges here, our justices, we actually call them.
Right.
Justice of the Supreme Court. And so, you know, we still a bit archaic in some of our laws, or most, I should say, of our laws. You know, it's still under the British, have some of those English laws. And so that's basically how our courtroom is set up. You know, similar to that in England. But, you know, a normal person, if they just come and sit in, because, you know, for criminal matters, that's open to the public to come and, you know, sit in the audience and just sit down and listen. But obviously, you know, it's no recording. You have to be quiet. You know, just listen to the hearings, the proceedings. But basically, like I said, it's really similar to on the show as how it's set up.
Right.
Where the judge is the one that, you know, is the one who was in charge of the court, and then one side being the prosecution will go ahead and present their case. Then the defense attorney goes ahead and, you know, present their case. So
now, I'm coming from the side of somebody who like makes content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why we can't have cameras inside our courts? And this is a legit question. I'm not complaining. I'm certain there must be a reason why, but I do not fully understand why.
Well, I know for court purposes, it can be requested, and it's up to the judge to decide whether or not they will allow it. But for most circumstances, it is not allowed. So not until you are granted permission, then you'll be able to use the camera in the courtroom. But they do have digital recordings, but that's just for the court person, you know, the court
like
personnel.
Archives and stuff.
Yes, you know, so. But other than that, to my mind, is that, you know, so everything could still stay at a normal pace, you know, there's no uproar or anything in the courtroom. And so, you know, integrity can be held in the courtroom, and, you know, everything can be running smoothly.
I guess. I hear you. You know, okay, sure.
Yeah,
I
but see
accept.
now that you have to take up
With
the powers that be,
with
and
the
then that would
magistrates
be
and
our
stuff.
judiciary.
Right, because it's like I think to remove some of the mystique in how people view the courts, all right, and even when it comes to decisions, because it's such a thing that's so far removed from all of us, right? It's like all we're seeing is a bunch of people in robes, all right, and everybody that literally that's it. We don't even know when they talk. We don't know how they talk. We only see them when they're like, what's the thing when everybody, the day when the new lawyers come, the call to the bar. That's the only time we hear from anybody. We don't even know what they look like. We don't know what they talk like. We don't know what it is.
Well, I thank you for that suggestion. I'll take that back to the president of our bar association.
Yeah.
And it seems as though we need to now start to make some media content. And so, you know, we could, I guess, normalize with the average Bahamian who always is on TikTok and Facebook. But we do have a Facebook page, so you could go there, the Bahamas Bar Association, you know, updated rulings and judgments are on the page, you know, for you guys. But I'm going to get back to our president. That's a good idea just to do a little TikTok now and then.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I don't expect to see y'all dancing, but at the same time, there are people have this idea of TikTok, right? Where unless you're doing something crazy, and I'm saying TikTok, but I really mean all social media.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're doing something crazy, nobody's going to pay attention. But there are, within the Bahamas as well as outside the Bahamas, several pages where this is straightforward information because the information is needed.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of views. It has a lot of traction because at the end of the day, if somebody were to say to me, here's a video about what to do if you are arrested in the Bahamas, or what are your rights specifically when you're arrested in the Bahamas. That's information that I lied. Let me not say I've never heard it because I have friends and that was a part of their project for the Future Law School that they had to make a video saying what your rights are or whatever. Right? So I saw an attempt at a video, but I've never seen like people who already passed the bar, who already established saying, hey, we're speaking with authority. These are your rights, right? And whether that's just them going over Chapter 3 of the Constitution, your fundamental rights, and they're breaking that down, or whether they're saying, because we don't have Miranda rights. So once again, that's a television thing where TV has influenced us to believe that the Fifth Amendment doesn't exist in the Bahamas because we've never amended our Constitution. So we don't even have a First Amendment, right? But that's whatever. But like these things are the things that are like, I would want the judiciary to say, here and bites, like meeting the people where they are, right? The first time that you find out that you shouldn't do this or this is what is expected of you or whatever shouldn't be when you are hauled off before the court.
I understand where you're coming from now. So that's why I said I will suggest to our president of the Bar Association, as we have different committees.
Right.
And so that will fall under the criminal law committee, the criminal bar committee. And so that's something that you may see momentarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you could hold me to that.
Oh, all right. Now, another thing that we see a lot on American media, if you or a loved one has had mesothelioma, if you or a loved one has used this product, if you or a loved one there's so many class action lawsuits, right? And I understand in principle how it works in the United States, right? Where it's like, all of us together will make a better argument than just two of us. So everybody who is affected by this thing, let's all go after this giant company that knew that their pesticide was causing infertility. That's a true story, by the way. Whereas like all through the, what's it called? In South America, they knew that the pesticide was causing infertility and they did nothing about it. And like there are places where they like set it down to South America where they do the banana farms and just patches and patches of people who have like are incapable of having kids or whatever. Those things become class action lawsuits, right? But we don't see that over here. And I would like to know, how is this possible when nearly every building has mold? Allegedly.
I just want to say now we can't confirm.
Allegedly,
not every building has mold.
A significant number of buildings, and whether that's like people holding the contractor responsible, people holding the entity that owns the building responsible, like because I'm forced to come to this place because I work there, or I had to go visit for some reason or whatever. And once again, even with, and I think that I will say this, right? Because nobody cares, Stephen. All right. I know inside the United States, like there's a line where it's like, yes, for a private individual, you could do this, or a private company can do this. But if it's a government entity and it's in the course of them doing their job, they have a level of immunity, right? So it's like, if you got sick when you went to, let's say, a government storehouse, right? Even if you got sick because you went there, if it was not like they purposely made you sick, there's a level of immunity in some cases for different things, right? And even like with quieting, you can't quiet government property in 12 years. You need 50 years, right?
Government property, no crown on, it's crown on.
But I'm saying like it's not the same. Like the same rules don't apply.
Correct.
Right. So, with that said, why don't we see like class action?
Now, I must put a little plug in here. I am a transactional attorney, so I'm not a litigator. So I really don't need litigation matters, and so that would fall under litigation.
Okay.
However, based on my understanding of it, is that, you know, he who comes to court must come and provide all of the proof and all of the evidence. And so that's the first step, making sure that, you know, the persons have all of the evidence. Now, like you said, mole allegedly.
Yeah.
Are they able to prove that, you know, the sickness was from the mold? That would be the first thing. You understand? Yeah. So maybe in those circumstances, the persons don't have enough medical proof to attach to the illness. They may not have.
That's why class action lawsuits happen, so that it's not just me having to go find it. I find some other people who got sick, and then we all go and say, let's put together so we can figure this out and get our own
now,
people.
mind you can still do that.
Yeah.
You know, say 5 or 10 Bahamians come together, and, you know, because I know they usually have with employment matters.
Okay.
You know? However, with medical matters, you know, the standard of proof here is high. And so that might be the reason. But I think you will need to bring a litigator back on, Stephen, so you can
to tackle that directly.
To dive into that one for you.
All right. So let me ask you this then, right? In your personal experience, all right, as a lawyer, with the things that you do, what is the law that you feel is most misunderstood by the general public? Like sometimes you out and you just hear somebody saying, because, you know, like if you're going off a Kongsa, like the people over there rowing, they row with passion, right? I get caught in the middle of a argument yesterday, right? But anyway.
But I would say is in relation to divorces, because it's so many. Like first thing I'd hear someone say, "Well, mommy ain't never signed no divorce papers, so how they could be divorced?" That's number one. Or they'll say, well, because, you know, so I believe, first and foremost, I believe it is, they just don't understand the divorce process.
Right.
And so that's the issue, because here in the Bahamas, you know, we have a fault-based divorce system as compared to our other Caribbean countries.
What do you mean fault?
So basically here, in order for you to obtain a divorce, either the husband or wife has to be responsible for the breakdown of the marriage.
Right. Somebody has to be able to point and say, this is the problem with this person.
The wife can say, my husband committed adultery.
Right.
Or the husband can say the wife was cruel to him.
Right.
Or they can say they've been living separate and apart for 2 years or 5 years. And so it has to be based on some type of fault. Right. That's what we call it. But here, you know, sometimes the unions believe as though once the marriage breaks down, you know, other jurisdictions call it
no fault divorce.
Correct. Right. Like, you know, you just couldn't settle, and so irreconcilable differences.
Right. I just don't like. I don't like how she looked.
Correct. And so, you know, that doesn't happen here, and so that's one of the perceptions, you know, Bahamians have with divorces. And then they also have the thing that you need to sign. That's not true. Once the person has been duly served with those divorce papers, only thing that needs to be proved by the party who would have initiated the divorce is for them to show that the person was in fact served. And so that's just done by affidavit of service that is supported to the court. So if the person who we call the respondent, who is the person that the divorce is now against, if they decide not to respond within the particular time, then the person who is the petitioner who initiated the divorce can go ahead and still be granted that divorce in the absence of the respondent. And so that's two misconceptions. Right. I believe Bahamians have. That is most common.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, we're going to wrap it up. You are listening and watching Sidebar 103 podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
At Island Lock, we take sports seriously. Get ready to experience the thrill of winning anytime and any place. Bet in real time and live the thrill of every play while watching your winnings stack up. It's your chance to score big with fast payouts and a world-class experience. Get in the game and bet the Bahamian way with Island Luck Sportsbook.
Welcome back to Sidebar, 103 podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna, and we're going to let attorney Angelique
Dennis.
See, I almost called you Davis just now?
That's fine.
Well, I've been fighting it all episode. Attorney Angelique Dennis.
That's me.
Have the final word. What is it that you would like to leave the people with?
So, another primary area of practice of mine is probate and estates. And so my main advice to the Bahamian people would be to ensure you have a will or a trust. Ensure that. Because at the end of the day, you know, death is inevitable for every one of us. And you should ensure that your matters pertaining to your estate are in order. And so everything would be smooth sailing for your surviving loved ones. And also, read Bahamas Read. Everything is located there online. You can go there on the laws of the Bahamas, where you can read all of the laws. And even if you like the hard copy like myself, you can go down right down there to the Bahamas publication and purchase it. And that's about it, Stephen. It's been a pleasure being here for this brief time, and thanks so much for having me.
You make me ask, like, what you guys need to do is all of these, like, every time somebody changes their name or have to say I getting married or I borrowed a piece of a land or whatever, all of that needs to be on the same website as the jury duty. Everything that is required to be gazetted should be held on the same website, and what everything else should do is push everybody to those websites. So there's an opportunity where you can have all the influencers give them some money to remind people to go, hey, you think your sister's your man? Go find out. Go to newmarriages.com,
Bahamas.com
thing, right? And so now you can find out, right? Whatever. So like there's a space for it, and then you can
I think we're getting there.
But I'm saying we can't get there piecemeal, because even though the information is available, but unless I know where to look, I may not be able to read it. But you know what? You're right. You guys are working
getting
there.
Yes.
I'm going to wrap up because Gabby is wagging her fingers over there. This has been Sidebar, 103 podcast powered by IlTV. Thank you so much for joining us. True God still.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madeira Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
Tired of driving around from place to place just to get your car insured and licensed? Frustrated with the process of being back and forth from your insurance company to road traffic? Well, BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers just made insuring and licensing your motor vehicle as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Visit us at the Road Traffic Department, Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2. See the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3. Enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at IlTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?